advanced users to assessments in Schoology. But the first thing we're going to talk about is not in assessments. We are going to talk about a test bank or a question bank to start building for your team, you, and for your students. So the first thing I need to do to build my question bank or test bank is I'm going to have to get out of my courses. I'm either going to go to my resources or my groups. If I want to create in resources, I'm just going to start in resources, but I do not recommend creating this way because you're just putting all the work on to yourself. And I'm sure you have a group, whether you're the only teacher on your campus. I'm sure there are other teachers in Aldine that teach the same thing you do, and maybe you could join a group with them. But I just want to show you first how you can do it in resources, but really I recommend doing this in groups. So if you click on resources, see, I'm in personal, and when you click on resources, that's what it takes you to. You can create in here, and I can scroll down and see some of the stuff that I've put in here. One of the good things about creating in here is it will always be here. Your courses get archived. Some of y'all, your courses are being archived for no reason, but it's not your fault. But if I build in here, then it stays in here. At the end of the school year, my course gets archived. I have to go find that stuff. If I put it in here, I can just pull it from here into my courses, just like you've been pulling the program director's content into your course from their groups. So if I wanted to create just in my resources, I go to Add Resources, and I come down to Add Question Bank, and I'm going to name it Weather 1.0. I click Create. I can turn on the Enable Question Tracking, but I can turn that on later too. But I'm just going to click Create. And if I scroll down here, I can see Weather 1.0. Now when I open this is in the format of test quiz. So if you're creating in courses and you went to test quiz, this is what it would look like. This is not in assessments right now. But if I wanted to start adding questions, I would just click Add Questions, and I could select from here. Since this is advanced, I'm not going to type the question out for you. I already have, so I'm going to go back. And I go to this weather bank, and I can see I have 2 questions here in my question bank. If you're going to go to the trouble to creating a question bank, you might want to fill that bad boy up to the max as much as you can. Just one of those crazy days when you feel like typing out a bunch of questions, multiple choice, true or false. What other options do you have here? You have short answer essay questions, but those you have to grade yourselves. They're ordering questions, fill in the blank and matching. So you can choose from those. Now I know when I start talking about assessments, I'm going to show you some really cool questioning. But these are the options you have to build your bank out of. So that's how you would build this in your resources. Again, you just go to Resources, click Add Resources, Add Question Bank, name it, and then start putting your questions in. The reason I'm saying I wouldn't build it here is I would build it in one of my groups where I have a team to help me build. So I'm just going to come to my Bella Batman group where I have other members. You know, I got 47 members in here to help me create. So I'm going to click on Resources and click Add Resources, and I would go to Add Question Bank. And now it's not just me putting these questions in here. It's the whole team. So if I was at Aldine Middle, I know we have an Aldine Middle Science group. We could all start creating questions and placing them in here, and that would make it, that would show that we would have access in our courses to it. Okay, so that's it. Now I'm not going to add another one, but y'all know how to. You're already in this group, so you know how to create a question. So they're in here. Now how do you access them? Well, it'd have to be in one of my courses. And let's say I'm just going to do one in this week's. I want to add an assessment. I would go to Add Materials, and I would go to add test/quiz. I'm going to name it. I have to put a category on it. We'll talk about grades at the end of this. If I click on ungraded, well, it's not going to show up in my grade book. But I want it to show up because I'm taking this for a grade. So I have to create new grading category. If I've never done this before, once I click on create new grading category, I have to create one. And I'm just going to put test 2 and click create. And this looks just like what I was looking at earlier. But now when I click add questions, I get to go to my question bank. And I click on from question bank, individual, and then I'm going to select that question bank I just created. And I can select those questions. Now imagine I had 100 questions in here. I could randomize them. I could go through and select the ones that I wanted and click add questions. And there they are. Now, you notice right here it says submissions disabled. The default for quizzes and assessments in Schoology is disable. So you have to set it to enable. So once I've moved my questions over from my question bank, I'm going to go to my settings and I'm going to enable submissions. And I could go through my settings if I needed to make some modifications to my test. A time limit or attempt times, okay? Even have the students submit, view their submissions. But once I'm all good with this and I've set this to enable, I click Save Changes and my quiz is ready to go. It's right here. And now I want to move that over to my other courses. So I'm going to have to come over here, click Copy to Courses, and let's just say I'm going to move it to this Bella Batman course. I'm going to select the category, and yeah, you do got to do this for every single one. And look, that test point 1 or test 1, whatever I called it, hasn't come up yet. So I am going to have to go to, I can't, dang it. So I could just move it as ungraded and go in there. But once you start using this enough, then they will populate once a student takes a test or quiz or you've started setting them up enough, then this will start populating. So I'm just going to put it, the category is tested. If you have not used or collected grades before, you're going to have to do it as ungraded and go in and change it inside of that course. Okay, everything looks good. And I do want to show you another thing that you got to make sure you do once you've moved it. So I moved it into my Bella Batman course, and pardon the mess. I know, that's a lot. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to open it, and I still have to go to settings. And oh, cool, it stayed enabled. It used to change and you'd have to go make it enable, but I guess it kept its settings. So all right, rock on. That's the first bit of good news of this training. Hopefully there'll be more. So that is a question bank. One other thing that when you do start, if you start dabbling into question bank with a group or in your resources, you're going to want to start organizing those questions. Like I did mine by weather. So you're going to want to put them by their topic or their learning objective, or maybe by the 9 weeks, although that might change, you know, those change. So I would do the topic, and that way all weather questions would go into this folder. And that will help when you're pulling, that you know to go to that question bank to pull from, and it's just not one gigantic question bank with a bunch of random questions in it. Now, if you did create a question bank in just your resources, but you wanted to share it with the group, so you just were doing your own thing in here, and you wanted to move it to a group, then you could just come over to this gear, click Copy To, and then go place it into one of the groups that you're a part of. Okay? And that's question banks. All right. Now I want to talk about something that I really like. And it's one of the coolest features in Schoology under assessments. So I'm going to go to one of my courses and I'm going to go into this week and I'm going to click on add materials. When I click on add materials, I'm going to come down to add assessment. And notice this right here. It says submissions. So this is right in front of your face. The other test and quiz kind of tricks you and you have to remember. You'll forget every time and your students will start taking the test or quiz and go, I can't see it. And so you have to go in there and change it to enable and you get frustrated. So this one's right in front of your face. So I can click on enable. I'm going to name it. Let's go with weather 3.0. I got to come to my category. I have to select a category. See, it's already starting to populate right here. I'm just going to put it with test 2. Remember, if you've never done this before, you got to click on create new grading category and then type out what category you want it to be. I'll put test 3. You know, you don't want to do what I'm doing. I'm just doing this because I have to train so much. But you would do major grade, homework grade, daily grade, extended learning grade. So I've got that filled out. Those are the two I have to. I could set a password for it. I could do the due date, but I'm just going to move on to create. And now I'm in my assessment. Here I could go in and there's accessibility features in here that I could look at that I want to turn on for my students, like text to speech, using a ruler, using a calculator. Those are all good for me right now, but I'm going to go to questions. And here's where the good stuff is. So I'm going to show you about 3 good things that you can jump into and start playing with to build some really cool assessments for your students. The first one is label image. So I click on label image. And what label image is I'm going to import an image that I want to have my students label. Label image. What it does is it takes an image and you can put text boxes over different parts of the image and the students will have to drag in the correct answer identifying that image, that part of the image. So I'm going to write place vocab in correct spots. Yikes. Okay. So you have 2 options here on putting in the image. You're going to find some awesome images in Google and go, oh, I want to use that one. And then you try to move it over and it says it's too big. The file's too big. So if you're going to do screenshots, I recommend do it when the picture is smaller. Or under more options, you can put the URL. And when you search for an image, it'll give you the share option, the URL, and you can just put that in there. And that'll put the image in. But if that ever changes or gets put down, it's gone. So I just recommend having a smaller file image to put in here. So I just took a screenshot, but I made sure the screenshot was kind of small. So there it is. And that's the image I want to use in this assessment question. I click OK. I'm going to give it a title. I've already put what I want them to do up here. And now I need to move my text boxes to the place I want them to go. So I just hit the plus response box and I want one here. And I hit it and I want it here. I click on it again. And oh, I don't want 3, I just want 2. So to get rid of a text box, just hit the red X. So these are the 2 that I want them to fill out. And now I'm going to have to put the possible answers right here. So option 1 is going to be cold, and option 2 is going to be warm. And there you go. So those are just the options. If I wanted more, I just click option. It'll give me another option to put one in. So I put hot. So I just added those. Now, before I finish, This is what it's going to look like for the students. I have to put the correct answers in. So I move that one there, and I move that one there. Okay? And I'm good. Now I could go add the learning objective. State standards, Texas, essential knowledge and skills. This is science, 7th grade. And I'm not sure which one it is. Where is it? It's the Earth, Environmental Science. I don't know. I'm just going to click on one. Save some time. Here we go. That ain't it, but now it'll be tied to that standard so I can track them and see how the student's doing on that standard. And I'm going to click Save. And that's it. The question is good. Okay? I'll show you right now. I click Preview. Start attempt, and here it is. This is what the students will do. And I'm good. Okay, so that is called label image. Okay, so we've done label image. Now I want to show you how to highlight hotspot, which is similar to image. It's just as cool, and I think the students and yourself will really like it. So I'm in assessments. I click on highlight hotspot. I'm going to write my question. Which spot will be the coldest? Okay. I'm going to upload my image, and I'm going to choose again the same image that I did on the last question, which is that weather map. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to put the hot spots. You can see it's on here as draw, and I want them to label the coldest. I'm sorry, which would be, and it's just by these dots. Okay, there's section 1. And I'm just making these rectangular areas for them to click on. There's section 2. And let's try to throw them off over here. There's section 3. And what the students are going to do, is this is what it's going to look like for them, is they're going to click on which one would be the coldest. So it's that one. And I can add that learning objective. And again, I showed that on the last one. Maybe it took up too much time. But you click on that, go find your learning objective, and it will be tied to that, and you can track those students. I click Save, and okay, everything's good. I'm going to preview it. It's going to make me go through the first one again. Pretty easy. Okay, and this is what all they're going to do is it says which spot will be the coldest. I click on that. That's it. And that is labeling the hotspot, or highlighting the hotspot, sorry. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is the number line. And the number line is right down here. You click on number line. And I'm going to place the numbers in the correct place. Option 1 will be 1.5, 3.5, 5.5, and I'm going to have to erase that. So you put your answers in here, your answer options, A, B, C, or D. You type your question up here. The title is going to be number. And option D will be 8.0. So what the students will do is they're just going to drag and place the correct the number in the correct spot. You can see I do not have a 1.5 like I put in my answers here. So I would have to come down and change my additional setup options. And I can take the tick away. You can see it doesn't have the lines to place it on. I could take the snap tick, and now I'm able to go in between those numbers. And those are what the correct answer will be. And I click save. And I could go down and change the line value so that it would show 1.5 if I wanted them to see that, and what that's going to look like for the students is, again, they just drag on this one, they select the correct hotspot there, and they're going to place the number in the correct area. That's it. So that is label image, that is hotspot, highlight hotspot, and that is number line. Now, one other thing I want to show you, and I'm going to show you it in here, and I'm going to show you it in discussions and assignments, but it's all the same. I'll just show you how to build it in here. And that is putting a rubric with something. You can see you have the short answer essay assessment questions here, and that's where you'll just click on. I clicked on short answer essay. Write me an essay on the weather. Hey, how about that? Okay, so there's my topic, and I'm going to come down, and you could set a word limit on this. I'm going to go down to 500 because no one's going to want to read 1,000 words on weather. And you can see right here at the bottom, it says align rubric. So I click on that. Once you've started creating these, like I already have one here that I've done for weather, once you start creating them, no matter where you created them, the rubrics will start populating here, and you can just keep using them over and over again. And the good thing about using the rubric is when you're grading this, you know, this is not going to grade itself. Their essay will pop up, but the rubric pops up, and you just select what they got on the rubric, and it will calculate the grade for you. So how you create one is you go to, again, I'm in the question, I go to rubric, and this is for short answer essay, and I go to create new, and here's my rubric diagram, and this is my weather, and I'm going to have to put 1.0 because I've already done one. The first criteria is going to be topic, add a description, how did they do on the topic? Okay, and then here I can start filling out how do they get a 4, how do they get a 3, how do they get a 2, how do they get a 1, and I've already come over and I've borrowed from a rubric that I've already done, and then I would just come in and fill this information in. Okay, I am all for borrowing. And then I'm not going to do the next two. I'm done. I would add the learning objective on here if I knew what the learning objective for weather is. So I would click on that, add the learning objective, and it would track along. It would go straight into my mastery to show how my students are doing on that learning objective. But I'm just going to click create. And now when I go through this question and I go through their essay answers, I can just touch on the rubric to give them their scores. Okay, you can do that. And this, now let me click save. You can see I got a nice little assessment going here. Not very rigorous, but there is an assessment. And right here you can see that rubric's right here. And when I'm grading it again, all I'll do is click on what they got for their score. And it adds it up for me. And it makes it a lot quicker when you're reading their papers or reading their essays. Okay, so you can do a rubric here in short answer essay, but you can also do it on assignments. So if I was to create an assignment, I'm back in my course. I click on add materials. I'm going to add assignments. And I have a weather journal finish the weather journal in Google Slides. So what I've done is I've created a weather journal form that's going to be in Google Slides. I'm going to assign this straight through my Google Drive. So I'm going to come down here and click on my Google Drive. And if this is your first time doing this, you're going to have to sync your Google Drive. And if you haven't seen the previous videos, then you're going to have to ask me. So ask me when the training's over, or send me an email on how to sync your Google Drive to your Schoology. And I can see my copy of weather forecast is right here. So I'm going to click on that. Click on that once and click attach. And I got to give it a grading category. Remember, whenever you're doing these things for grades, and I'm going to put this as test 3. If you've never done one, you're going to have to do it as create new grading category and type in a grading category. Major, daily, homework. And right here it says scale, numeric. Now I'm going to use a rubric. And look, my rubric is already there. So I can just click on that or create a new one. Click create. And now that's there for the students. And what's cool is it shows them the rubric so they know what's expected of them. So when they go through that, I can go in and click on these and give them their scores. Okay? And also you can do it in discussion. And I love this in discussion. When I add a discussion, I'm in a course. I click on add materials. I go to add discussion. Weather. Tell me, well, I can't, that's just a question. Tell me about the weather. That's not a real discussion. Which weather is the best? Hey, now we can have a discussion. And to add a rubric to this, I click on enable grading. I have to give it a category. I'm going to go with that test 3 because that's just something I'm doing right now. And I come down here and I can see my rubric, and I come and create one. I don't need to create one, I already have. But you could create a new one there, or you could just use one that you've already done. And I can show this to the students, and why this is so important is when they're doing the discussion, they know what's expected of them and what they need to put in their discussion. And I click Save Changes, and here's what it's going to look like for the students, and the rubric will be right up here. And they get to look at it and see what exactly they need to do. Like for a 4, I could put must also respond to another student, must use vocabulary, stuff like that. All right, that's it. I'm done. Bye.